You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for starting this Tuesday morning with us. We hope that your week is off to a great start. It's often said that Tuesday is the most productive day of the week because Monday comes with a lot of pressure, and then Tuesday has taken that edge off, and you're able to hit work head on with all the productiveness that you need. You're welcome once again to Breakfast Central. We're streaming live on YouTube via News Central TV Live. That's the page to search for on YouTube. We take your comments from time to time. We love to read from you. My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to Breakfast Central. We have Joe in the building. Hello,
that's
Joe.
right, that's right. We're right back on the air like we never left. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Tuesday it is, and so many things happening. Someone has been held in custody, especially after he made very strong statements. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Plus, we'll also take a look at another tension upon tension. Yet again, the same name, same individual, and people are also talking, but that's not all. We also have this Abegistan trending. Benga has more information on Abegistan. Benga, where is Abegistan located in the African map?
I mean, I've seen the coat of arms for Abegistan, where you have the Nigerian shield, where you have the two horses. The two horses have been replaced with two palms.
Wow.
Looking like this. And then the motto, instead of unity and faith, peace and progress, it's show me love. We'll get into that and more as we proceed with the show. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Breakfast Central. I am Benga Bora. And Olive, I disagree with you that Tuesdays are the most productive days of the week. I mean, for
you, when is it?
It's every day. I mean, the standard we've set on Breakfast
I want to actually get I'm looking online, most productive day of the week, because I know I've seen that
somewhere. It's differently for everyone, though.
Yeah. Tuesday is widely considered the most productive day of the week, with studies indicating peak performance occurs as employees settle into their rhythm, usually around 10:54 a.m. Thankfully, that's after Breakfast Central. So
that's just Siri time.
You are not distracted during Breakfast Central time. It's deemed ideal for tackling complex tasks, holding key meetings, and launching campaigns. So, welcome to the most productive day in the week. Let's hit our conversations this morning head on so we have enough time to analyze them. Tensions surfaced in the National Assembly as lawmaker representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, raised concerns over what she described as a persistent curtailment of her legislative prerogatives in the 10th Senate. The controversy unfolded after her name was allegedly omitted from the attendance register of the Senate Committee on the North Central Development Commission, NCDC. Arriving prepared to participate in the committee's budget defense, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan discovered that she had been excluded from the official lists. Seeking clarification, she confronted the committee clerk and later the chairman, Senator Titus Zam. The exchange quickly escalated, with Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan insisting that she would not be treated as a second-class citizen in the Senate. Let's take a look.
I will not watch any of you. I will not watch any senator here undermine my people. I will not have that. I will not have that. No senator here is worth more than my people. I will not tolerate that. 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 There's no problem. No. Please, you guys should call the security of this complex. Call everybody. I need this to be resolved. No. Give us which time. Let them give me the phone. It will never happen that I will not be undermined. So you guys, no. There's no problem. Whatever it will take, I will not be treated like second class.
I do not collect your phone. I know it's a dismissed senator of the federal.
No, there's no problem.
But wait, I am not in that office. So you can't When I choose one that I've collected your TC, am I in our country?
Mama, no, I have your mate for my house.
There is no problem. That's where we're going to start. However it escalates, I'm ready. However it escalates, I'm ready.
Wait now. Where's the phone?
So that's the video you saw, the clash between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate Committee on, reviewing the NCDC. Now, why that is a big issue, again, this just feels like it's a refresh, a repeat, it's a recurring incident. It's no longer looking like an oversight of some sort, because why does it have to always be Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan who's in the spotlight for the wrong reasons, not because of her own failures, but again, because of some would argue that it started to look targeted. Being a part of, Nigeria's legislative system, if you're looking at committees are being a part of committees and doing your oversight functions are a very important part of your responsibility. Now, you also look at the NCDC, how many states fall under the NCDC? Kogi State is under the NCDC. So ensuring that her name is not reflected there speaks to, silencing the voice of Kogi citizens.
It looks deliberate.
It looks deliberate. I don't want to assume
and I believe this
that it is deliberate.
It's a follow-up from what happened in the meeting, the budget defense meeting.
I honestly want to
because it looks like victimization at this point.
Yeah, I want to isolate it. I don't know that there has been any response as to what exactly happened, but it is. I don't think that it is proper that her name was omitted.
Is she making a mountain out of a molehill?
Just to clarify things, it's a meeting that has to do with northern states. And
Kogi is not central development.
Yes.
Not central states, of course, and it borders on northern state as well. Each state, each constituency, let me use the word constituency, will provide at least two. Each state will provide two senators. So for Kogi, 2 were already presented. There were 3, yes. There was the Kogi East and the Kogi West. There was no need for the central.
I don't agree
for the
with
North
that.
Central.
It's
yes,
the state,
so let me explain.
It's not constituencies. So it's 6 states and the FCT under the so there's
No.
Benue, Niger.
Hold on, there are
okay,
19.
Okay.
19 are supposed to be there for this entire meeting.
But 19 is 19 northern states.
It's not central.
Not central.
This is not central. It's supposed to be like the 6 of them and the FCT.
Where is she from?
She's from Kogi.
Yes,
So
2 senators already from Kogi are part of it. 2 per state. 2 per state. So you already have 2 senators, Senator Jibrin and what's the other senator, Samuel also. They were already there. They were selected for Kogi. Plateau had 1, Nasarawa had 2, other states had 2. Total makes 19. Okay? So she wasn't in quotes from the explanation. She wasn't needed.
Who's
Or
explanation?
she was supposed to be
Exactly.
there.
That is important to ask. Who gave the explanation?
So looking at the entire list, that is how it was done. That is the plan. That is how it was scheduled. Okay? 2 senators will represent a state so that there will be a balance. Let me also highlight it very quickly. I think I put it down and look at it. Okay, so clearly per state, North Central, Benue had 2, Kogi 2, all right, Kwara 2, Niger State 2, Plateau 1, Nasarawa 1, FCT 1. Other states had 1 each from Bauchi, Borno, Imo, Jigawa, Akwa Ibom. They all had 1. Remember, it's the NSCDC, so let's also take note of that. However, the point here is that based on reports, she confronted Senator Zam due to her exclusion from North Central. And that's why she blocked the entrance. She sat at the chair, she said nobody's going and nobody's passing. That her people are being marginalized. They're not being carried along.
And I agree with her.
However, they tried making it clear to her that, but it's 2-2 and you already have 2 people from your state. And the 2 people that came from her state were Okay, here they are. Their names are Vice Chairman Kogi East and also Kogi West.
So what
and
happens to
Issa
Kogi
Jibrin,
Central?
and also you have Steve Karimi already from Kogi. What I'm trying to look at it from a different view. You may not have to be invited, because other states too, the other senators can also fight and say, why would you invite only 2 people from my state? You have to invite everybody. The commission cannot invite, during the city, you can't invite everybody. So you just pick 2. In short, some states even had 1. Just 1 senator represent. The FCT had 1. Okay? Plateau had 1. So I think that's the information we're trying to pass to her. But in her statement, which she put on Facebook, I don't know if we have that statement, you could put it on the screen. She made it clear that her name was not on the register. She was not informed. She only found out about it 20 minutes towards the end of the meeting. Before she could rush down to the meeting, they had finished and everybody had left. When she got hold of the lists, she registered. She saw that her name wasn't there. Why wasn't her name there? People are being marginalized and so on. And this explanation was made clear that, listen, it's 2 persons per state. If the entire sitting decide to increase it in numbers, or they decide to drop one of the other senators, then your name will be added. But since your name is not added, then it is what it is.
So again, I will go back to saying, if every state, for example, in this state, Kogi State has 3 senatorial zones. There's the Kogi North, there's the Kogi East. You
have Kogi East, Kogi West.
And Kogi Central. If you have a representative from the other 2, not having a representative from the 3rd is marginalizing them. It is marginalization on all fronts, and it might not have been. Again, I don't know where the explanation of, where that explanation came from, but if that is their official position, right? Then they need to review how they set up their commission and how they set up their committees and how they review their meetings, so that it's all inclusive. Especially because with the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, there have been issues in the past few months. I will think that as a senator that wants to ensure inclusivity, you'll be a little more sensitive to the quote-unquote plight of Kogi Central people, particularly because of how their senator, their representative, has been treated since
and they
March
had already
of
missed out 6 months.
They've missed out, exactly. They've missed out 6 months of representation at the Senate. So I will think that it won't cost you anything. You need 3 people per state. Okay, there are 3 senatorial zones. Are you going to? Does it require you to rent an event center to get 1 extra person in?
And I'm sure the states that have 1 representative is due to absenteeism.
Yeah, I don't think it's like, oh, this state can only provide
109 senators. It's just senators.
So there are 2 sides to this. One is the explanation from the commission, from the committee rather, set up to look into the commission, which is they've said, okay, they already invited 2 persons per state. However, the other hand, this is where the key argument comes in. Must it be 2? Must it be 2? Because that's what Nigerians want to know. The answer, no. It must not be 2. It can be 3. It can be, name the numbers. However, the point is, for the fact that they did not invite her, I also feel that by today, maybe hopefully, Senator Zem will be able to put out a statement and make it clear, or spokesperson of the Senate, to make it clear that, listen, the reason why this and this was done was because of this. Now, this is where, we've looked at it. I wanted us to look at it holistically.
Just to add to that before you move away.
Yeah.
Again, I would say, just to add to that, if you're saying the representatives from the state, you should ask yourself how many senatorial zones are there. If there are 3 senatorial zones, you have 3 representatives, because you want to give them the right to first refusal. Give them the opportunity. Let it be that their representative did not show up. Let it be that their representative did not want to have a seat at the table.
So,
if I were there, I will not take that line down, because you're stripping me of my right of representation.
So, with that statement you've made, that is the key, that is the crux of this matter. Having looked at it holistically, the committee set up 2 persons per state. Some came with 1. States have been mentioned. However, she felt, listen, you should have at least informed me. I am part and parcel of the Senate. And that's where the argument comes from. And
I'm a senator representing Kogi State.
Do you get?
Kogi State belongs
so I agree
with
our argument is valid. But in terms of, the pushbacks leading to, the altercation that we see, marginalization is starting to become very highlighted, especially when it comes to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And I think just 3 days ago, she was about to speak at a a meeting with some of the ministers. And while she was about to talk, the gauntlet was hit and they said, no, she can't speak. So you start to wonder, okay, fine. So when we look at all this picture, yes, we'll start to say, well, in as much as you may have your own say that, oh, there were 2 persons, so on and so forth, why didn't you just, knowing who she is?
No, I would
It's
say
not who she is.
I'm coming.
On principles of fairness and
I'm going
equality.
somewhere. I'm going somewhere, guys. I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, go
and
somewhere.
we must say the way it is.
Okay, say it.
Knowing who she is, that she will not stand for anything lesser than what it should be.
Okay.
Meaning that she will stand for, listen, it has to be done right. Then I think those who are in the Senate, who are in quotes, let's use them as her colleagues, whether they are senior colleagues or, younger ones, whichever way, you should now look at it. Whenever it comes to her, you should be able to say, oh, wait, we mentioned something not quite long ago. The wife of the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while the wife was in the assembly, would they try this? They can't. They couldn't.
She had her own
They
fair
couldn't.
altercations.
Yes, she did.
senators.
But they couldn't because she was one who was known to be very determined, strong.
And
Right,
vocal.
Senator Itagi was. But we had people who, when they stand and talk, you give them their respect. But why is it that when it comes to her, the story is going back and forth? It's now painting a picture of, oh, this person is wicked. But I'm just saying,
But
we've
I'm
looked at
looking
it
forward
generally.
to seeing
The explanation
not
would
what
be.
Portuguese are saying or Togolese, but what Nigerians are saying.
Oh, wow. I thought you would say the, Uganda people, or the Swahili people.
Ugandans.
They are our brothers. All of them are our brothers. Whatever.
Kalwaja says, dear Natasha Akpoti, these men will not respect you until you put all of them, you put them on full blast. Even a Netflix limited series where they follow you around and document how hard it is for a female to do her job as a senator will help. When you tag misogynistic senators, they will find it hard to get a visa after they leave office. To all those women staying silent, tomorrow when they do the same thing to you, they will tell you, we did it to Natasha, nothing happened. Pin this comment. Thank you, Kalwaja. One chill bottle of whatever it is you drink.
Yeah, I
give it
agree
small
with
malt.
Kalu's
Submission,
submission, but the part that I don't like is, please, let's stop this, over looking at the West as principal or headmaster.
No.
I'll report you to the West, they will deprive you of visa.
You know why,
This is
Benga, you know
How
why,
many of them? Okay,
Benga, you know why we have to look at that?
angry with you.
Why we have to look at
It's
that?
not the West that shouted, everybody started running to quell insecurity.
Why we have to look at
Why
that?
were they not doing it since?
You want us to say, oh, we're a sovereign nation, we don't need the
No,
But
not that.
that's not
Please
our
look
reality.
inwards and deal with issues for.
But you people,
No,
the people
but that's
dealing
our
with
reality.
issues
Say,
are not.
That's
let's
our
still
reality.
report to the West.
That's our reality because
The West is the better.
Should I explain?
You had a whole political class
Should I explain, Benga?
of men. The president of the United States
reporting
was
to the
mentioned,
West is not
38,000
Benga.
raping minors, children. I mean,
you
that's
and
how
I.
low can you get?
Benga.
And it's the same West you want to
Benga.
report to.
I
You and
agree
I, it's the
that-
same West. Let them deal with their things. No, I
Sorry,
can
let
never
me just
agree
explain
with
to
this.
Benga.
What is wrong is
you
wrong,
and
but you don't
I
need to
know
report
that
to
the
the West.
reporting to the West is not based on who they are, what they do. It's based on the fact
So
that
why-
it has been proven that your leaders, the leaders, take what belongs to the country and resources of people and pilfer it and take it there to the West.
So it's still
if
the
you
problem of the
stop
West
them-
for
no,
warehousing stolen dubious funds.
okay, so I think I've heard both your
what
sides
is
of the
that?
divide, and I understand both of you. I completely understand you.
If I steal something and I keep it with you, do you think the law enforcement will not arrest you too?
I
It's why we
I
always
think you
hear
need to
of the sweet
understand.
funds and all. I understand both
Yeah,
of you completely.
so-
And I think the summary to it is both of you are right. Two truths can coexist. We need to get to the point where
I am righter. He's right.
No, I don't agree
we
with
need to
that.
get to the point where we can deal with our internal issues without resourcing to the West. However, we must also examine our current realities, which is the fact that our political class are obsessed with going abroad, sending their kids abroad. So that's our reality. Let's get back to what Nigerians are saying on X, and then we'll move to our next story. And then other ways to submit your grievances. Must everything be fight and noise without solutions?
Well,
Who is this
that's it.
person talking to is my question. That's the main issue, Prince JC.
All of them. All of the above.
All right, the next tweet, let's take two more so that we can quickly move to our next story. The next election, it's going to be Senator Natasha versus all the senators and APC members. And our final tweet this morning on this story, can we take the final tweet? All right, it doesn't seem like we... APC is running a system of deliberate chaos. They feed, fuel, and benefit from the chaotic system. All right, that's all we can take. Let's quickly move over to our next story. Yesterday, protesters returned to the gates of the National Assembly to resume the Occupy NASS demonstration demanding the mandatory electronic transmission of election results. The demonstrators are insisting that the real-time clause be explicitly included in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to ensure transparency in future polls. They maintain that the current version passed by the Senate leaves too much room for manual interference. The atmosphere at the National Assembly complex remains charged as civil society groups and concerned citizens vow to remain until their demands are met. Let's take a look at the videos from the protest grounds.
Until our votes begin to count, our lives cannot count. If the lives of citizens count, they cannot kidnap and kill more than 100 people in Kwara. And the governor is in Abuja trying to deliver the APC candidate for AMAC election. The president is attending a fishing festival in Kebbi State. Meanwhile, that same Kebbi State, the president is here to tell Nigerians and the governor who ordered troops to leave government girls secondary school in Kebbi before more than 100 students were abducted from the school. The commander-in-chief is here to tell Nigerians, my brother, there is no country where the vote of the people counts, where leaders will act as irresponsibly and as reckless as Nigerian leaders. So we are insisting that for 2027, we do not want shenanigans. Nobody should be afraid of free and fair election. This current government, they have every institution at their beck and call. They have more than 30 governors. They have the entire National Assembly, judiciary, police, DSS, civil defense, city girls, city guys, city everything, city thugs, everything they have. Why should anybody be afraid of free and fair election? That is why we have come to say their time is up. It is time up for electoral malpractice. Anybody who says there is no technology for the electronic technology or transmission is lying and is being criminal-minded. They want to steal the mandate of the people and it will not work. Yes. So we are telling Akpabio and everybody who cares to listen, you must do the right thing. 2027, we are not fighting, no, but we will resist anybody who wants to take away the mandate of the people. Yes. So as we blow this whistle, their time is up. Our vote must count. Our vote must count. Our vote must count. Our vote must count. My name is Peter for Nigeria.
Peace and love. Right to democracy is. We're in Democracy Avenue, speaking the minds of the people, and we say we stand with the House of Representatives on real-time electronic transmission of the results. Mandatory. Without any condition, no clause. We have done it in the past and we got up to 94% without it being mandatory. So if we make it mandatory, we have the resources already. 200+ billion for technology in this next election, 1-point-something trillion for this year's budget for INEC. So we have the resources. No matter the hurdle we think we have, we would be able to surmount it and get our result to count. That is our ask today, and thousands of Nigeria. We represent millions of Nigeria across the country.
All right, so it was a busy ground and it continues up until today. Don't forget, they will be meeting today. The Senate will be meeting today and they'll be discussing the way forward concerning the electoral reform. So let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly before we drop our 2 cents or 50 cents. Nigerians are saying that Pio's main chick, is that Peter? I don't know. Pio's, okay. Only losers fear, can we go back there? Only losers fear what? I didn't pay it. Only losers fear free and fair elections. Okay. Hashtag Occupy NASS 2026. Let's see another tweet very quickly. Queen B says, hi, calling on Peter for Nigeria. You may not realize the good you are doing for your country. Nigerians are taking note, and history will be kind to you and will never forget the role you played in ensuring that transparency is brought into the Nigerian electoral system. That's what Queen B says to you. Someone tags Donald Trump. Dear Mr. Trump, we commend and appreciate all your efforts to stabilize the security situation in Nigeria. However, you don't really have to spend your compatriots' tax money to keep bombing or sending troops to Nigeria. Just help us get a credible election. Uto, that's what the person is saying. Don't waste your money. We know where to go. Zolex says, even if you're an enemy of Nigeria, let the votes count, no more rigging. Okay, he says, let the votes count, no more rigging. That's what he says. New Emmanuel says, our votes must count 2027. And we've seen a lot of persons speak up on social media and having their, maybe we'll say their foot on the ground this time, not boots on the ground. They're having their feet on the ground. And we see them protesting. The protest continues today, by the way. The Senate is meeting today. They're convening. So let's see what will come out of it, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I don't think we need to waste so much time on that story.
No, we don't.
I think we
Let's
just need
go to our final story, which is a very important one that we started yesterday. And this is the continuation, because we did mention to you that the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, was meant to honor the invitation yesterday by the EFCC, and he did. His appearance at the EFCC headquarters sparked dramatic scenes outside the agency's gates. El-Rufai arrived at the commission's headquarters on Monday to answer questions over alleged multi-billion naira fraud linked to his tenure as governor. Hundreds of his supporters accompanied him, but tensions quickly escalated. Security operatives fired tear gas to disperse the crowd after clashes broke out between pro-El-Rufai demonstrators and other protesters in typical Nigeria fashion. There's always the pro and the counter protesters. Let's take a look at this video. And there you have it. Let's see what Nigerians are saying on X about it.
But before then, an incident happened yesterday, and thanks to the ICI, the journalists, they recorded and they had footage of when News Central's live view transmitter and also camera and tripod was seized by overzealous operatives of the EFCC. But I believe there are talks on the way to return all the equipment that was seized. I think journalism is a job that is guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution, and we're only there to cover and report what was happening. So it will be nice for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to read the Riot Act to its operatives in dealing with journalists and letting them understand that their presence there is a constitutional role, and their equipment, they shouldn't be prevented from doing their job. And that also applies to all security agencies and members of the public at large. But let's go ahead to see what Nigerians are saying.
Well, just before we go ahead to see what Nigerians are saying, I think it's also key that we highlight, Menga has highlighted that lawyers have been talking on this issue very quickly. Lawyers have been speaking deeply. So before we get the reactions from Nigerians, it's good that we get the facts, the points from the lawyers. Inebe Effiong, who is a regular here on our show, went online to break down the charges that they've brought forth to the former Kaduna State governor, and saying that it is not in the Nigerian Constitution. Just this morning, I also saw a message from Liberal Soshoma, who talked about, he said, when public institutions and their legal officers begin to display gross incompetence in public, then we have a bigger problem than just our politicians. How do you charge somebody under a non-existent section of a certain 2024 law? You allege a wiretapping of an unspecified phone and number of an unspecified person, by an unspecified person or people at an unspecified date, time, and location, using an unspecified device, and as alleged by an unspecified person, conclusively charged by a non-existent public institution, DSS. Anyway, politicians, and then it goes on to say politicians.
So we moved on from unknown government to unspecified.
So that is a new thing we're going to start dealing with. So what we are highlighting here is key, and hopefully we'll get the lawyers to also share on this. But let's quickly see what Nigerians are saying. Maybe we could take one or two comments very quickly so we can move on. Samuel Omogo says, Malam Nasir El-Rufai went to the official EFCC with a Hilux loaded with documents about his time as Kaduna State Governor between May 29, 2015 to May 29, 2023. That man didn't get first class in quantity surveyor by mistake. Laughing out loud. Meanwhile, his supporters followed him to the EFCC headquarters, and the EFCC tear-gassed them. Okay, then tear-gas him. Let's go on. El-Rufai helped bring in Tinubu to power. See how Tinubu is treating him like nobody. If not for El-Rufai, Ahmed Lawan would have been the APC candidate. Lesson, know the type of people you help.
Now why?
Okay?
Village Boy movement.
Have you guys seen Village Boys movement? They said city boys, the village boys are waiting for city boys to come. That when they come, they will meet the real boys who own the villages, since they are doing city tour.
Whether or not you're a village boy or you're a city boy, Breakfast Central is here for you to bring you the latest in the news. And now let's share
to bring you specified information. information. Yes, not unspecified.
All right, let's share with you the top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, Australian offer alleges cash extortion on Nigerian trip again. Abegistan is in the news. Federal government drags El-Rufai to court over wiretapping allegations against the NSA. The Occupy Nigeria protest will come up, but we'll be analyzing Nigeria's power sector budget, and that has been a key conversation. Of course, Occupy Nigeria protest, a National Assembly protest led by young Nigerians and civil society movements still going on. And we reviewed the newspaper this morning. Stick around for all these and for more.
In a story that has triggered debates online and abroad, an Australian author based in the United States has shared a troubling account of his recent travels through Nigeria, raising fresh questions about security practices and, most importantly, corruption. In a video he shared on social media, Mark Poland said that during his stay in Nigeria, he was asked for cash at least 10 times by officials at airports and on the roads, including at checkpoints and even at his hotel, which he described as more focused on extracting money than ensuring his safety.
Pollard questioned whether some of the country's many security checkpoints are genuinely set up for public protection or are turned into shakedown checkpoints, highlighting how stressful and frustrating his experience was. While his remarks have sparked reactions online, including concerns about Nigeria's image and travel experience for foreigners, he also acknowledged some positive aspects of his visit, even citing Nigeria's vibrant fashion sense as a highlight. Let's take a look at the video, and we'll be joined by him shortly.
Entire country set up to shake people down, because coming in and out of the airports there, I was told, now you give me cash at least 10 times. A lot of the roads have security checkpoints, but are they security checkpoints or shakedown checkpoints? Even going into my hotel, people weren't just looking me up and down to see if I was carrying anything dangerous. They were looking me up and down to see if there's anything that they could ask me for. Am I overreacting? Because this must stress you out on a daily basis. I was just visiting and I had a lot of fun. And I would say in Africa, Nigeria, #1 at fashion.
We'll take the compliment. Let's hope that there's more where that came from. Joining us this morning to share his personal experience is author and teacher, Mark Pollard. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us this morning.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Right, great to have you. Let's start from the very beginning. What brought you to Nigeria, and walk us through your very first impression when you arrived?
Well, I was doing events through Africa. So I did South Africa, Johannesburg, I did Nairobi in Kenya, I did Abuja, I did Lagos, and then I did Cairo. And funnily enough, my friends in Africa seem to not think that Egypt is part of Africa. It's quite funny the way they discuss it. So I was there to do events. And I arrived through a bad airport over in Tomo, and then went over to Abuja and had this weird experience where you've got to fill in this entry form, right? So the signage wasn't that clear. I'm wheeled into a room. The people in the room are lovely, but it was kind of a frustrating and complicated experience. I come out of the room. Everybody else has gone through. I show my stuff to the one guard, really big guy, and now he goes, "No, you give me money." And I was like, "Oh, is this what it's going to be like?"
Now, Mark, you mentioned being asked for cash multiple times during your trip. How can you describe where and how these incidents typically occurred? Was it mostly at airports, checkpoints, or other places? Take your time to tell us the story, walk us through your experience.
So look, the first one was coming into Abuja with this official, and then even when I gave my documents to the two gentlemen who were the next people, right? And that's the thing I think to think about. Nigeria, there are too many people in the airports, and they only exist to shake you down. Like, there's no reason for a lot of these people to be in the airports. And even the two gentlemen who did not ask me for money, they're looking at my wrist. And I traveled 45 cities last year. I don't travel with anything on me. Like in Colombia, they say no da papaya, which means don't give papaya the fruit, don't show off anything. So I go very minimal. But they're looking me up and down as if they're like sniffing me. And everyone will ask you a question like, "Oh, where are you from?" And it's with this look in their eyes where they really want to get to that next question, which is, well, it's not even a question. It's now you give me USD, now you give me money. In Kenya, they say send me money or send me a pesa. So Abuja was the first one. I'd say the most annoying one was on the way out, where in the airport in Lagos, I go into the door and the guy says, "Where do you need to go?" Points to me to the direction that I need to go, and then he goes, "Now you give me money." The line there is super confusing. Nobody knew what was happening. And then we finally get through to the section just after you would check in, right? You've got to go from just where you checked in to going through this gauntlet run of officials. And the guy who greeted me at the door, he's got a yellow vest on. I don't know if he's even working there or whatever. He's also next to me now, and he goes, oh, you go there, and now you give me money. And he's smiling, but he's saying it in an aggressive way. The problem with the airport in Lagos is you have to do, like I spoke to 13 people to get onto my plane. 7 of them asked me for money in the airport. First of all, you go up to one person, you give them the passport. Another person looks at your exit visa. Another person will say, are you carrying cash? Another person will touch me down, pat me down just before I was getting on the plane. And they're always like awkwardly, intimately close. And then it's as if it's like you're their Valentine's Day focus, and they'll go, now you give me money. And so like the Lagos experience, or Lagos airport experience, was probably the worst.
Probably the worst, you might want to say. Well, I hope you're also aware, by the way, let's also bring it to your notice that the minister and well-meaning Nigerians have tried doing something concerning this to curb the incessant requests of money. We do have foreigners who have also traveled into the country. They've also highlighted these key issues, and
even Nigerian citizens, yeah.
You know, but that doesn't really paint the picture of who Nigerians truly are. Hence why we have you this morning to share how and when, so that we can take it up with the officials and find lasting solutions to it. But I just want to ask, aside from the request made at the airport, was there any other place you went to when you came in that you had the same issue? Because we know the airport is predominantly, most times, I mean, to be honest, faced with that particular issue. Anywhere else where you face this problem?
Look, I gave some food to some people who were doing security at the hotel, and that's totally fine. But it's more like when you're going in, they're looking you up and down, as in, what can I get from you? And I know the look. Like I've gone through Brazil, I've gone through Colombia, I've gone through Mexico. I know the look. It doesn't happen as much there. And then I was lucky because I had people taking care of me. You know, we had a fancy car. We had people put me in a Range Rover. We had a convoy in one city as well. Why did we have to do that though, right? And I remember one of the checkpoints, you know, they're coming in, they're looking at my wrist, they're looking at what I'm carrying, they're asking a few questions, got through. None of the checkpoints asked me for money, but I know it happens because that's why my friends are like, we're going to put you in a car so that you can avoid a lot of these issues, because the issues are widely known as the checkpoint. And I also want to be super clear that there's probably like 2,000 or 3,000 comments, and most of them are saying, yeah, we go through this too. I'm not doing this as a white colonialist. I'm not doing this from like a white colonizer point of view. My feeling was for my friends there. I taught 200 people, and I'm like, is this your daily life? Because that would be so stressful. How do you get ahead in life if you've got systems around you constantly dragging you back? So I just want to be really clear. My experience was frustrating. I'd be nervous about going back, especially after doing this interview. But my main interest is in the locals. And it reminds me, I'm a teacher. I love people's potential. And there's this beautiful quote from a lady called Layla Jana. She passed away when she was 37. She said, talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. So I just want to be clear that when I'm frustrated in the country, it's frustrating for me personally. I'm more worried about what's happening systematically for entire generations that are getting squeezed by their own people.
And it's very important. That's why we're having this conversation, Mark. And your post did go viral. And I did take time to look at some of the comments. And in the comment section, some people were very defensive, you know, being patriotic. And they said, no, you know, this also happens in the West. We pay tips when we go to the West. Is there a difference? I mean, could you, for the sake of our viewers, let them know the difference between tipping and a shakedown and also being entitled to another person's money? The sense of entitlement.
Yeah, this is not
comes with it.
What I experienced was not tipping culture, because they weren't doing anything for me. Half of them didn't even need to be doing what they were doing. This is that blessing culture, the allowance culture. I spent a bunch of time in different countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, and there's a slightly different culture around money. So just a simple one, for example, in Nigeria, now you give me money. In Kenya, send me money or send me a peso. So these little nuances. I hear about the black tax. I hear about girlfriend allowance. I hear about maybe you've got to bribe your way to get a job in some of these countries, for example. I hear that you've got to become a politician so that you can actually make money because everything else is so hard. Like I listen. I'm a researcher. I listen to these things. What I experience is not tipping culture. Like if you're patting me down literally before I get onto a plane and you're a big man and then you go, where are you from? Australia, okay, and New York, okay, now you give me USD. That's not a tip. Do something for me and I'll give you a tip maybe.
Wait, just to clarify, they actually did say that to you?
Yeah, the guy who was patting me down before I get on the airplane. And I'm like, so I didn't respond, right? Because I'd gone through the airport already. Everyone's asking, everyone's looking, everyone's sniffing around, right? When you're in that situation, it feels like everyone's like, what can I get out of you? And I really don't like that feeling. It puts me on edge. And then I'm like, if I don't give this guy money, am I going to get on the plane? And so I just said nothing. And he goes, oh, are you okay? That's not a nice tipping culture. That's a guy being not a nice person. There are words for that. But that's not a tipping culture.
Well,
that's a shakedown culture.
Just to reiterate again, I know my colleague did mention this earlier, where I don't know if you did see them. We do have like boards and flyers in the airport that says, do not share money to these people, do not give money to these people who are asking for money. Unfortunately, I do believe that there are bad eggs everywhere, right? And we're hoping that with interviews like this, we're highlighting the ills, and we will reach out to the Airport Authority of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria as well as the the Ministry of Interior, and take up this conversation. But beyond these negative experiences, you did mention that Nigeria's fashion scene and cultural vibrancy, there were some positives that stood out for you. What was the positive things, or what were the positive things that your experience brought to you here in Nigeria? Yeah,
well, I want to, hopefully I can come back because I want to experience Deti December a little bit. Look, I love Afrobeats, so obviously Nigeria is a beast in Afrobeats. And at one of the events that I did, I had about 180 people come through, and they all had to come up this staircase and then into this door, into this big room. And after about 10 people, I was like, is this a fashion runway? Like, why is everyone dressed so well? Everyone dressed up amazingly to come to my event. And I'm like, is that because this is a special event? Is this normal? But I would say in Africa, Nigeria is #1 at fashion. I think Kenya's around there as well. Just so much flair and so much color. And, I think I get frustrated with the systems in these countries that are holding people down. It's everywhere, and it's probably increasing in most countries in the world. I'm not picking at Nigeria. I'm pro-Nigeria. I'm pro-Nigerians. I'm pro-people. Pro-talent, pro-creativity, but the systems, they just get in the way. So if someone's like, well, it's because the people in the airport, and I heard some weird theories, if it's because the people in the airport aren't paid enough, well, that's a problem, fix it. I heard a theory that it's...
All right, we're still speaking with Mark Pollard, who's detailing his encounter visiting Nigeria. Unfortunately, the shakedown culture that many have criticized, but also he's spoken to some of the positives that he's seen in Nigeria, how we are a beast in Afrobeats, fashion sense, and there's so much really to look at when you think of the country and our young entrepreneurial economy, our young entrepreneurial community, and the fact that we have young people who are making things happen. Yes, it is unfortunate that there are those bad eggs, and we will continue to speak about these ills and use our platforms to highlight them. And
the vibrancy, and also the sense of dignity that comes with, being your own person. There's poverty everywhere in the world. And I'll keep sharing the story of my friend that works in international development. And she was on a mission to Juba in South Sudan. People had lost everything due to the conflict in Darfur and civil strife, but they still welcome you to the tent to share coffee. They're not expecting anything from you. They walk with their head up high. They're not in an Uzbekistan pose, show me love, sort of thing. So it's going to crisis level that, it's not even just at the airports, it's everywhere.
But does this then also in some way reflect sort of the tipping culture where we see in America, right? So people, for example...
No, but you've not done anything for me.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, so you tip when you do something for me, and it's discretionary.
Because people also criticize that. So you go to the airport, you want to use the bathroom, somebody hands you toilet paper.
The tip in America is for service. Yes, you go to a restaurant, there's a certain percentage of your bill you have to, that is minimum. Yeah. Or you get a haircut.
It's a must.
A service has been provided. It's a must. But what we're saying is just downright able-bodied people, 2 legs, 2 arms. There's nothing.
Let me even shock you.
Coming to ask me.
Once you even walk into the airport, you know where you're going to. You're going to departure. Just for them to say, welcome, why you're going there? Bro, let me show you the place. For goodness sakes, there's a sign there. I know the place. But say, bro, let me show you the place.
Right about, I think Mr. Olubumi Tunde-Ojo, the Interior Minister, tried to do something. He said something very instructive about the numbers of people. Customs and DLEA, immigration, you leave one checkpoint, another person is checking your bags. Sometimes they physically, it was former Vice President Shibajo, I told them to use scanners. You're going in through my underwear, putting your hands in my bag. It's very crude and backward. And we also need to understand that your airport is very sensitive. It's like a doormat to your house.
It is.
The first impression you get, if a person's doormat is dirty, of course you know the
inside.
The inside is going to be dirty. And if you're already getting shakedown at the airport, you can as well guess what will happen when you get into the main country.
You're getting shaken
and
up.
it's a thing of pride. You're the first, I mean, you're into hospitality.
Yeah.
You're the first line of contact.
Yeah, first line.
And the people who put there should be the best of us.
The best.
That will be welcoming you with a smile, that would be of utmost discipline. Not going there. And you can compromise national security. There are all sorts of gases. There are all sorts of gases. There are all sorts of plants, invasive species that could disrupt our ecosystem in Nigeria and things like that. But when you focus on, you know, let me get $10, when you focus on extortion, you would miss out on that. And it's sad that it's gone to this really embarrassing level. And I hope they do something about it. They've said they'll do something about it, lip service, but again, the political will.
I mean, they have started. Is why
and it's beyond labels. Though.
Yes. I know they are putting flyers.
Tobaccos are liable to die young. And people are smoking cigarettes every day.
I agree with you. But the first step is to outrightly call it out for what it is. To say, look, it is wrong. It is illegal. We outlaw it. We should outlaw it completely. Right now, I don't know that we have any laws.
There should be punitive measures.
But yes, I agree. There should be punitive measures, you know. And, you know, all of us here have been out of Nigeria. All right. I believe that we have Mark back in the conversation. Welcome back. Mark, you were speaking about some of the positives that stood out for you, regardless of the, you know, the SARS spots. But if you may please go ahead with sharing some of the exciting things you noted about Nigeria while you were here. You did say you want to come back to experience that in December. I urge you to come back. And before then, we would have taken this up with the authorities. But please go ahead.
I mean, there's a famous choreographer who left a comment on my post, and I said, you're going to have to choreograph a dance for me to get through the Lagos airport unscathed. Sorry about that, my phone overheated. Look, I think, you know, there are different reputations about Nigeria and Nigerians in a lot of the countries that I go to. Nigerians in Kenya, there's definitely a point of view. For me, Dirty December, the nightlife, I love Afrobeats, the food's really good, the fashion's really good. There's a lot of talk in various countries about the education level of a lot of Nigerians, you know, doctors, lawyers, you know, all that, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way. It's just that a lot of these stories, they don't get much airtime in the world. Like, what does get airtime is the scamming culture, the begging culture, etc., which is super unfortunate because you've got a massive country, very young population, so much potential. Imagine having a little bit more energy, which is, you know, I see that you're a real news channel, which is quite refreshing, having spent 14 years in the US. And imagine having a little bit more energy where there's more people with power saying, how do we provide more opportunity to people? How do we help them be more creative? How do we help them build businesses? How do we help them get capital, get funding to actually build businesses, rather than what I see in a few of the countries where this begging culture leads to a certain laziness. Kenya's the same, semi-money culture. Some people ask people for money 20 to 30 times a day, just hoping to get a little bit of money. They could spend that time into building a business, maybe working a job, although there's a lot of youth unemployment. So these are complicated issues, but clear leadership signals where there's almost an embrace of, especially a youth population, where there's a sense that there is real opportunity because Nigerians are smart. You know, it's not even about education. They're smart and ingenious and innovative. And I just hope more people get a chance.
All right, Mark Paulette, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. We look forward to hosting you again in Nigeria under different circumstances.
I'll see you all in the club, right?
These two in the club.
No. That guy there.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, take care. Have a good day. All right, let's move the conversation to now what's happening in Nigeria. Protesters have returned to the gates of the National Assembly to resume the Occupy NASS demonstration demanding the mandatory electronic transmission of election results. The demonstrators are insisting that the real-time clause be included, and they are, of course, saying that it be explicitly stated in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to ensure transparency in future polls. They maintain that the current version passed by the Senate leaves too much room for manual interference. The atmosphere at the National Assembly complex remains charged as civil society groups and concerned citizens vow to remain until their demands are met. News Central's Sagia Ibrahim compiles this report.
We stand with the House of Representatives on real-time electronic transmission of the results. Mandatory, without any condition, no clause. We have done it in the past and we got up to 94% without it being mandatory.
The mapping done shows us that 98% of the locality are covered. So this is enough, to counter whichever internet network infrastructure argument put forward by either the Senate or any other entity.
This current government, they have every institution at their beck and call. They have more than 30 governors. They have the entire National Assembly, judiciary, police, DSS, civil defense, city guests, city guys, city everything, city thugs, everything they have. Why should anybody be afraid of free and fair election? That is why we have come to say their time is up.
We must correct that narrative whereby the people in power will know that the people that voted them into power are the real people. We want a Nigeria that works for everybody.
We are demanding that the original INEC guideline that the House of Rep had worked on should be implemented. We do not need space for bots. The space for bots will breed manipulations.
The National Assembly is changing its face for Nigerians to know that once you come here, we're going to listen to you. Everyone has a right, has a voice, has the right to be able to engage with the National Assembly. We would always listen to you. So the agitations that they've had, we've listened and we said they should trust that the Joint House and Senate Committee is going to act in the best interest of Nigeria.
Interesting times indeed. Don't forget it continues today and the Senate will be convening. They'll be sitting today. Let's see what will come out of that. If you just tuned in, this is Breakfast Central. Let's tell you what's coming up next for the second hour. Second hour of Breakfast Central, federal government drags El-Rufai to court of wiretapping allegations. Analyzing Nigeria's power sector budget. Do you have power? We'll look at that also. And we'll look at Abia and not forgetting to women protest for special seats bill. All of these and more coming up shortly.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai is currently at the center of multiple legal and investigative actions by Nigeria's anti-graft and security agencies. Yesterday, he honored an invitation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and was subjected to hours of questioning over allegations of corruption, including an alleged 432 billion naira financial misconduct probe tied to his time in office.
The Department of State Services, DSS, has also filed a 3-count criminal charge against him at the Federal High Court in Abuja on allegations that he unlawfully intercepted the telephone communications of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, contrary to the Cybercrimes Amendment Act and the Nigerian Communications Act. The proceedings have stirred public reaction, with protesters demanding and their demonstration outside the EFCC headquarters and security operatives reportedly deploying tear gas to disperse crowds. Joining us now is the security expert to analyze this, Dr. Steve Okori. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, we will go back to the beginning shortly, but I just wanted to start from somewhere in the middle. We're seeing that now he's been taken to court for tapping the NSA's phone, contrary to the Cybercrimes Act. Does that in any way admit to or infer that there's an admission to the meat, the substance of what was alleged by Malam Nasir El-Rufai?
I think that the question you have asked is for the court to determine whether he actually tapped or he lied about it. But the point here is that we heard this very statement from the man that has been taken to court. He said it when he got an interview at the Arise television, and that he was privileged to hear when the NSA was giving the order or the directive that he should be arrested while on his way from Egypt, right? But the point here is that whether we like it or not, the former governor was a governor, he was chief security officer of the state, so he knows the implication of what he has done or what he said he did, right? because it has breached some of the laws of the land. You mentioned the cyber crime provisions and other laws, Communication Act and all that. So we are talking about somebody's privacy here. And so whether we like it or not, the matter is before the court. The DSS has done what they need to do by filing those 3-count charges against the former governor of Kaduna State.
Okay, so what's the actual due process? We see first thing that happens is a seizure of passports, and then the process is being followed on. Earlier on, we did see his arrest. They wanted to arrest him, especially when he just got to Nigeria. Can you share with us what the due process would likely look like? Is it possible, is it allowed that you could arrest the individual without warrant and so on?
Yeah, you see, when the confront had him, when he landed in Abuja, he first of all asked for the letter of warrant of arrest, and the law enforcement then couldn't provide any. I think that in the real sense of it, following the ideal procedure, is first of all get a warrant, right? If it requires him being invited, I think that first of all they write him a letter, because it was EFCC that confronted him when he landed at the airport. He asked that he asked for a letter. He didn't see any invitation from the EFCC and all. So you see, when you extend an invitation to an alleged personality, if he doesn't honor, that is when you begin to go to approach the court to seek for order to arrest him wherever he's being found or seen. So the EFCC couldn't provide any invitation or letter inviting him, but yesterday he was at the EFCC. I think they have decided to go through the ideal process of inviting him to come to the commission's headquarters, which he honored yesterday. So there are 2 allegations against the former governor. One has to do with corruption charges over 400-something billion, and the tapping of the NSA's phone during the conversation between him and perhaps some other subordinates that are working with the NSA. Right. So we are looking at two different issues here. One with the EFCC and one with the DSS. Now we have seen that the DSS have gone to court. So it's not left for the man in question to go to court and see how to defend himself in the court of law. But the EFCC, he honored the invitation yesterday. I'm not privileged to the outcome of his going there yesterday until we hear from you that journalists to let us know what he has gone to do and the outcome.
Now, Dr. Okwori, these are very weighty allegations. The allegations bordering on financial mismanagement of 432 billion naira, and also the recent wiretapping allegations. There's some political observers, and also Malam Nasir El-Rufai himself has said, this is politically motivated, because, he was in good terms with Mr. President. If you do recall, there are videos of him dancing to Kiss Daniel's very famous song called Buga. They were doing Lo 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 Lo. And also at Chatham House in the United Kingdom, Mr. President delegated some questions to Malam Nasir El-Rufai. And all this drama happened when he didn't get a ministerial appointment. And then we've seen he's a very vocal critic and a member of the opposition ADC. Do you think this has political colorations, or we should take it by the merit of the case? And another question is, why now?
Well, we are talking about the criminal case here. They can decide to look at the issues at any point in time. Criminal cases it's not status bar. At any point in time, the case can be opened against the alleged person. Now, this is a relationship that has gone south, a friendship that just the way you said, they danced to Kiss Daniel's song and all that. We saw where in Chatham House, where the question was asked, the president, then he wasn't president, I think he was president-elect or so that he was asked a question and he had to direct the question to Nasir El-Rufai to respond. But what we are currently seeing is that the relationship has gone sour, and unfortunately, Nasir El-Rufai is not taking it lightly. He's not taking it easy. I think he's pained. He's bitter about it. He got to the point where he was screened by the Senate. At some point, the outcome was disqualification, right? And for such a man, I would say he's a proud man.
It felt like humiliation.
Sorry, yeah, you know. So for him, it's an embarrassment. Having been minister, governor for 8 years and all that, just normal screening at the Senate, he was disqualified for reasons best known to the government in power, right? But you see, the point is, if you miss out, heaven should not fall, right? Right? Because if he was part of government, will he be doing what he's doing now, right? So the point is, we must not have these people that always want to be in power. From when he was minister, he became DG of BPE, he became governor for 8 years, and he wants to continue to become minister as well. You see, Nigeria doesn't belong to one particular individual. If you don't fit in at this point in time, then I think we should just think of something else to do. I watched him on national television where he said he has enrolled for a PhD somewhere in Netherlands or so. He's going to see how to complete his program and all that. Right. So the point now is that he's out of government, right? And he shouldn't see it as if it is right. It is right that he must continue to remain in power, right? The other Nigerians there, he was privileged to be occupy those positions that he occupied. And we have well over 200 million Nigerians that are out there that are also qualified to occupy this position, right? So I think that at this point in time, you should have been grateful to God for giving him those opportunities to serve, right? And he mustn't continue to be in power. That's the point, right? So I think that he's a critic. Yeah, that I know for sure about him. But he should take it easy. He's trying to stir some controversies where there's no need.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
Okay, Dr. Wari, let's also bring in we also have another guest who's joining us on this conversation. We have Kacha Nonoju, who joins us. Good morning, and thank you so much for being here. I don't know if you can hear me. All right, great. I just want to quickly ask, I mean, now the allegations of 432 billion naira financial mismanagement since the former governor left office. Is it a trend or a thing that we see whenever it comes to incumbent and past political leaders, or you could say public office holders, whenever they're not in tandem, that it's like going back to dig deeper and find some things out to ensure you use it against them? Now we see this huge sum of 432 billion naira. Can you share with us what you think might be going on right now at this time?
Yes, it is a trend. It's a trend with the APC. You remember, go back and shoot their swords. I want to know what criminal prosecution has actually been concluded in recent months. And that's simply why I don't think they want to go the full wire. If they go the full wire, all the corpses will be exhumed. And the corpses are corpses buried by the APC, of which Mr. El-Rufai is a foundation member. They know what they did together against the country. So I do not think they've gotten far. What we are now talking about are Mr. El-Rufai's service in Kaduna State during his tenure as governor. There were others whose jobs that were jointly done with the federal government. Some were done and the party kept quiet. The party kept quiet during the period of the jihad. The party kept quiet during the period that forced the American forces to be on Nigerian soil. We are historically now under occupation like we've never been before in our country's history. We have a stronger force, a stronger military right now bestriding our country. And that is in reaction to the consequences of the mistake that Mr. El-Rufai and Mr. Ribadu and other members of the APC committed whatever it is that they committed that has gotten our country this daintily steeped to have forced the U.S. military to land in Nigeria for the first time in Nigeria's history. And there's a lot to be revealed. So talking about the problems of governance in Kaduna, that's just one. The government has not been very serious about interrogating governance in Kaduna vis-a-vis the genocide that occurred during the tenure of Mr. El-Rufai, because those interrogations may also link to some other people who are currently serving now federally. So that's why I said, when you start going towards Mr. El-Rufai with accusations of past bad deeds, I see some of those bad deeds also concerns the party. And when it concerns the party, it concerns some of them who are still in the good books of the party, and of course some who are in the bad books of the party. What we're discussing is the implosion in the APC. It is that implosion that gave birth to a lot of them leaving, some out of anger, engineering soldiers to do coup, which after several dilly-dallings, the army has come out to say, yes, there was a coup. We also got from that implosion the subsequent formation of the ADC, in which Mr. Malami was seen to have put forward money, which two other people brought money, and which led to their purchasing of the ADC platform from Mr. Okemosu. So we have all these problems going on due to disagreements in the internal APC. We will see more. So I am not yet very excited, though I find it very interesting, and I pray that they continue. That's just what I'm saying. I pray they continue, but I have seen this before. And then...
Thank you very much, Mr. Ononuju. I would like to bring back Dr. Okori into the conversation. Now, Dr. Okori, Mr. Ononuju said quite a lot of things. He said he believes this is a script, and it's almost like a family affair, and Mr. El-Rufai knows where the corpses are buried. But these are very serious and weighty allegations bordering on national security and also accountability to the tune of hundreds of billions of naira. So you think the prosecution from the federal government are serious about seeing this to the end, or are we just witnessing the early stages of theoretics, as Mr. Ononuju has called it? Do you think they'll go all the way? And you know what happens in court? People bring out all sorts of, they unearth all sorts of issues from the past, and is the government, knowing how sensitive some of these issues are, that are even bordering on national security, ready to go the whole 9 yards?
I said that criminal issues or allegations don't have status quo. It can be reiterated or opened any time. If you don't want the lizard as a visitor into your house, you don't carry an ant or a termite-infested wood to your house. Whether we like it or not, if the allegations are true, it's for Rufai to defend himself in the court of law. But you and I know how these things happen. We have seen a lot of criminal allegations bordering on corruption against our political office holders. And at the end of the day, when they take these matters to court, how many of them are sentenced to jail? We saw in this country where two former governors were sentenced to jail as a bordering on corruption, former Plateau governor and former Taraba State governor, while they were serving jail term, having used our taxpayers' money by the EFCC to prosecute the case from the Federal High Court up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld the decisions of the Federal High Court and that of the appeal. At the end of the day, we saw a government that came and pardoned them, right? So how will this now serve as deterrent to other public office holders? How will it serve as deterrent to them from stealing our hard-earned resources? We have millions of Nigerians are out there languishing in poverty, no job. A lot of Nigerians cannot afford the basic survival needs. We're talking about food here, shelter, health, and otherwise. They cannot afford. One single Nigerian will take public funds, lavish it, butcher it the way they want to butcher it, at the detriment of the other masses that are out there. We see on national television public office holders boasting on national television that they own Rolls Royce. We don't know where they have worked and earned such an amount of money to be able to acquire a vehicle that is over 1 billion naira, right? So these are the issues. They are not serving, our political class are not even learning from what we are seeing. The EFCC, are they backing and biting at the same time, or they are just backing, right? We need to see more of what the EFCC is doing. Look at the case of Yahya Bello. They granted him permission or whatever to travel out, So we must be seen that we are serious fighting corruption in this country. Corruption is the bane of every sector that we have in this country. There's corruption in security, there's corruption in governance and all that. If we don't fight corruption, look at corruption is going to finish us in this country. The international community are watching us. They are watching how we're addressing this insecurity and corruption issues in Nigeria. We are not serious in the fight against corruption, right? So we must be seen to be serious about fighting corruption. Whatever it is, I am not interested in the political party that you belong, whether you are witch hunt or not. That's not my business. If you have found that you embezzle government resources and all that, you should be tried, and you should be seen that you are sentenced to jail, serve the punishment. Look at the case of Okadu. Now it's forgotten whether the judge that was sentenced him to jail was the one that was supposed to pass that judgment or not. Now that matter has ended. So it means that whatever he took from Abia State coffers, that one is forgotten. It's gone. So we must be seen that we are serious about fighting corruption. Because if we don't fight corruption, the essence why we are existing as a country, we will not see the light of the day. Insecurity is there, and all that. You cannot take away the fact that there's no corruption in the fight against insecurity. There are a lot of issues that we are seeing in the fight against insecurity. So people are compromising. People are benefiting in the fight against this insecurity that we are seeing. Must it be like that? It mustn't be like that. So we must be serious about fighting this insecurity. When getting it right, we must see that we fight corruption to the letter. I don't want to look at whether he's in the opposition or not. If he actually took this money, then he face the charges before him. Okay, so let them face the charges before them. It's not about whether they are in EFCC, in APC or ADC. What is his name? He's still in the APC. He's being charged for corruption as well. Right. So the fact is, the government should be serious in fighting corruption.
All right. Okay. I wanted to bring Mr. Catch on. We've talked about the government fighting corruption, but I don't want us to sweep away a major allegation, a major matter that was highlighted by Malam Nasir El-Rufai. That was the importation of thallium sulfate. Yes, it's been denied, but what's the strength of this allegation? How important is this allegation? How much seriousness should we pay to it? Because from the explanation, it's a chemical that has such strong effects, very lethal effects. Yes, they've denied it, but should we pay any weight to these allegations?
You're beginning to understand what I'm saying. Where Mr. El-Rufai is going to, they understand it. He's also giving them an inkling of where he's likely to go to should they push hard. So, and you need to understand, he knows their games. He knows the people they use. He's only detached himself from the body caucus, and as that inner caucus of the APC. He's not yet detached from the sociological caucuses that being the governor brought him into. So those social caucuses could be the caucuses where these informations are traded, and he has access to them, and he can leverage on them to really deal with them. So you are now talking about being swept aside. There is more that he has not yet talked about that could come up should they press him harder. Secondly, we are currently in a period where the government is being charged internationally of being complicit in genocide. Mr. El-Rufai probably knows a lot about those issues because why? He was part and parcel of the genocidal caucus while he was in government with Nuhu Ribadu, President Tinubu, President Buhari, and the rest of them. The things that they have been accused, or for which they are accusing El-Rufai today, are things that occurred when all of them together were in power same time in the APC. So yes, he is itching for a fight. He is looking for a fight. And that's why I said, because I know the complexity of his.
Okay. Mr. Onoju, I don't know if you're still there, network challenges, but we do have just very little time to continue this conversation. We have maybe just a few questions, but let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll finalize this conversation and then move to the next. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central. As we look to wrap this conversation up, I want to say thank you to our guests who have joined us. But just to wrap things up, Mr. Onoju, if you're there, just 10 seconds. I would like you to please respond to this question. Do you think the anti-graft agencies, as we have them, the ICPC, the EFCC, and the likes, are having a complete dereliction of duties, especially when it comes to apprehending those who have been uncovered to have either pilfered or have taken money from the national purse, but they've not done that, but rather they focus more on political alignments, as it were? What's your take on that?
Because of the nature of their appointments, political appointees who are appointed into the ICPC and EFCC are duty-bound to play the script of the masters. And that's how it is. So these organizations have recently now become an extension of the hands of the political players. They tell them what to do. They use them to harass who they want to harass. They use them to, jail who they want to jail. You've seen that go on very much. But when you see the charges being brought about, have you asked yourself what's going on the case of Malami? Have you asked yourself the reasons why some judges want to recuse themselves from that case when they find out that the properties that were put in it were suddenly removed, and some people now are putting it aside, not for the prosecution, but outright seizure without going through the channels that they think the law brings. And there's a lot of corruption in the process. And that's why I think a lot of judges may not like to continue these cases. You bring them a case, you will list 400 properties, you bring it again, you then reduce the properties, and you've not said a thing. And we're just watching. And there's a lot of stories circulating in the grapevine. So the government has to show that it is not by itself relooting the things that these people looted, because that's the offense of Malami. He was looting a lot of the Abacha loot that were returned. He was looting a lot of the things that were taken from those who were said to have committed offenses. And there is no honesty in the process. And don't forget, Mr. Malami, Mr. El-Rufai, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, and President Tinubu all belong to the same APC. And this is why I'm telling you, if the APC are willing to treat us to this spectacle of drama, we will be willing to watch. We want to be entertained, but let them be serious about the length of the entertainment as they cut each scene for us to enjoy. When they become serious, we will know. Right now, they're not.
Thank you so much for your points. I mean, you said they need to be serious. It's much more like, you sounded pretty much like the subscription needs to be well done. So Nigerians need to ensure that what they subscribe for is what they will get. I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Okori and Mr. Nanuchu, for joining us on this conversation. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's move on to our next conversation this time. It's one that affects you watching us this morning. The Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, otherwise known as NIBET, has told the Senate that only 60 million naira was released from the 858 billion naira appropriated in the 2025 capital budget to close Nigeria's electricity tariff gap. Speaking during the agency's 2025 budget performance review and defense of its 2026 proposal before the Senate Committee on Finance, NIBET's acting managing director Johnson Akiawo said the funding shortfall has increased the agency's debt exposure to generation companies.
Although 858 billion naira was budgeted to settle tariff gaps and outstanding obligations, only 60 million naira was released, and it could not be used due to procurement constraints. Akiawo warned that continuous underfunding and non-cost reflective tariffs are putting pressure on the electricity market. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Sani Musa, expressed concern over the growing financial strain in the sector and hinted that lawmakers may review the tariff system or consider other funding options. NBET has been asked to submit a detailed funding and reform plan as part of the 2026 budget review. Joining us now is public policy expert, Dr. Emmanuel Usemeka. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Usemeka, if you can hear us, what does it really mean when we hear that only 60 million naira is released out of 858 billion that was approved? How does this funding gap affect the companies that generate electricity, and that is, of course, the GENCOs? How? These are some of the conversations that we're looking to explore this morning. Okay? It does seem that we have a bit of an issue connecting with Mr. Usemeka. We will reconnect with him, but bringing it into the studio here, gentlemen.
60 million out of
850. Make it make sense.
That's why we don't have power. It's not poultry. It's minuscule.
And it's not just power.
It's a microcosm. It's ridiculous.
It begs the following question. Why are we borrowing money? What happened to the monies that were missing and they've not gone for? I mean, NNPCL, 210 trillion naira cannot be found. If you have those monies, if you're able to recover the missing monies, wouldn't you use it for these agencies? Let's even leave that. Let's even talk about the budget itself.
If you say you are approving 850,
why are you just giving them 60 million?
Why do you bother going about the exercise? Exactly. Why do you approve that?
What is the drama that we're seeing now with the ministers appearing to defend their budgets before the lawmakers? What is the point of all of that? Because it just feels like it's a show. Yesterday we had
this is where I asked Viola that
exactly.
What's the point
of all that?
But he has said
it feels like Grace repeats the same situation over and over again. We're joined again by Mr. Usemeka. Thank you for joining us. I was asking, before we had the technical glitch, what does it really mean when we hear 60 million naira is released out of 858 billion that was approved? I don't understand how this works. What is the meaning of that funding gap, and what's the implication that affects, that this will lead to in terms of affecting companies that generate electricity?
Well, I couldn't make out a lot of the things you said, but I can say that one of the major challenges that has bedeviled the 2025 budget implementation is this poor releases or lack of release of funds, especially to the capital component. The power sector is not the only sector where you have these either paltry releases. You're talking about 0.07% of 858 billion as budgeted for power sector. That explains clearly why, if you go across the length and breadth of the federation, you will see total darkness left and right. There's no way we're going to be able to improve, our power sector infrastructure with these kinds of releases. And it's not exclusive to the power sector. You also have the Ministry of Health.
Well, we do hope that we can re-establish the connection. Clearly, some network challenges there concerning the audio feedback. Hopefully, we can get that sorted out. But he was making a very clear statement, and I like one of the lines he used there. He said, "That's why you find darkness everywhere." Nigerians have continued to complain. It was trending a few days ago. Yesterday, and I think the day before yesterday, everyone is saying, "What's going on with power? Power has been poor in my area." It's been horrible.
I don't think anyone can claim to be on band-aid anymore.
It's been horrible. There's no band. And funnily enough, they've said it here. We've had guests who have talked about it here. We've had experts who have talked about it here. We had also a former director who has spoken about it, that having people on bands will not work. There's this issue of discrimination that's been attached to it. Are you trying to say that the people who live in Amukoko, or those who live in Amuodofi, or those who live in the suburbs, somewhere you find in Mushin, are not better, or don't deserve power?
Yeah, so it's discrimination.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
because every Nigerian is entitled to
Nigeria,
electricity.
it will be 65 this year. I mean, it's time for introspection. We're talking about electricity in 2026. We don't even have to go far. It was in the past that you say, oh, you look at Senate climes, you look at Canada, the United States, Europe. Please, let's look at our neighbors to the west, the Republic of Benin, and how they are doing in terms of electricity and infrastructure. And also Ghana and Togo. These countries are not, I mean, they're tiny West African countries, but they're doing a lot in terms of the quality of life of their citizens. We're still discussing electricity, stable electricity. So it means since the return to democracy on interrupted experiences 1999, we have not been able to solve.
But did you say it's in 1999?
I mean, let's go
we have newspapers of 1960 where they said where you had blackout, 1980 blackout. Power or not, this is a recurring thing. We've always had that.
So it means the minister and those in charge are failing at their responsibilities.
Anyway, we do have Dr. Emmanuel Osemeka, who's joining us. He's back again as a public policy expert. We're looking at the policies that surrounding the power sector. 858 billion naira is what that sector is supposed to have harnessed and used to ensure that Nigerians enjoy the benefits. But guess what they got? 60 million naira. Please go ahead with the explanation on how this makes sense.
It doesn't actually make sense in any form, shape, or, it doesn't make sense at all. And, this also speaks to the fact that our National Assembly is either not representing us or they're simply just representing themselves. Because I expect that the members of the National Assembly should really, really, really frown at these kinds of releases. It is, unthinkable that a government will budget almost a trillion for its power sector, but yet the only release you have for an entire fiscal year, 365 days, is 60 million naira. It speaks to, where the administration's focus is. And that also explains why the administration is focusing on renewable energy for the Aso Rock Villa. I mean, look at the humongous amounts that was budgeted for 2025 and also the amount that was also budgeted for 2026. I think it was 10 billion for 2025. I'm not quite sure how much will eventually be approved for 2026. And guess what? That 10 billion naira was released 100% for that Aso Rock solar power system. That tells you where our focus, our interest is. Take, for example, the health sector, for example. I think the health sector budgeted about 243 billion for its capital project in 2025. Guess how much they got for the entire year? 34 million. 34 million. So how do you even meet up the SDG goal of access to health? How do we even speak as a nation that we are giving a pride of place to our health sector?
Dr. Semeka, I'm hoping that we can actually get this sorted clearly in terms of the audio connectivity. But 34 million, we did see the health sector. I think it's enough for the National Assembly. It's enough for the National Assembly to reconvene and put the 2026 budget on hold and have a review. And that's what we keep talking about. Whenever they bring the budget to the Assembly, they've not finished 2025 and 2024.
There's an overlap.
There's an overlap. And the National Assembly, all they think about is standing and singing on your mandate. And you've not looked at the core issues. Just yesterday, we did see the House of Rep. They've asked the Attorney General of the Federation, the Secretary General of the Federation, to work together and bring the documents, the account of this current administration from inception, from 2024 up until date. They said, please submit it. They need to go through it. I mean, kudos to, what's that company called? That agency called, rather, that keeps suing the federal government. Serap keeps highlighting it. And the Attorney General of the Federation had also highlighted in the documents sent that there are some monies, unfinished projects. These monies, a whole Attorney General of the Federation is highlighting these things. And take a look. We don't know where these funds went to. This fund is missing. This one is missing. Kudos to Premium Times as well. And of course, News Central and other media houses that have taken it up as well to highlight that there are some projects that have not even been completed. We're looking at over 90-something, out of 400
so what
something.
Happens? Do you abandon those projects and start?
And they've been paid for.
To be honest, again, I go back to where we've been talking about this and how they were instructed not to infuse capital projects into the new 2026 budget because there was carryover. 70% of the budget was not yet executed. You know, it wasn't yet performed
because of funding gaps.
Exactly. Yes. So even at that, they still introduce new capital projects, which is very shameful. But where we are as a nation is we're struggling terribly, not just with the implementation of budgets, but even being able to account for it and to say, this is what we have done. Unless we start to address this, we'll continue to see these funding gaps repeated year in, year out. Let's go on a very quick break. When we come back, we will continue this conversation this morning. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Thank you very much for joining us. We're still looking at the effect of the gap, the funding gap in Nigeria's power sector. We have Dr. Semeka still joining us this morning. We've talked about this funding gap, 60 million out of 858 billion, which is rather wild. Unfortunately, like you've mentioned, it's rinse, repeat. We see the same thing year in, year out. It feels like it's a charade what the budget defense is. Now, who ultimately bears this burden? You know, who carries the burden of this tariff gap? From, you know, my side, I automatically, as a consumer, just think it's the ordinary Nigerians that have to pay for this. You know, but what role do the power companies have to play, and where does the blame lie?
You know, this blame should, you know, fall to, and that is on the desk of the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is the one who applied for the job, and Nigerians gave him the job. And he clearly stated in 2022 during the campaigns that if he is not able to give Nigerians 24 hours power supply, that they should not vote for him. That was what he said. It came from his mouth. And clearly, Nigerians can see that in 2025, 2026, that the government is also not interested in providing power supply to their homes. I mean, because how else do we explain this? And we blame 100% the National Assembly members because you can see clearly that there is no oversight. Because the National Assembly should be so angry with this level of, you know, releases, haven't painstakingly gone through, you know, the budget appropriation bill and even defense to the point where they even had to, you know, bend backward, left and right. You finish all the budgeting procedure, get it approved, only for the executive to release at their whims and caprices. That is not how to run a nation. I believe that the National Assembly Oversight Committee failed completely because this should have been nipped in the bud. From the beginning of the year till now, they ought to have seen that the releases are so poor. So the question is, why is the federal government releasing monies to MDAs, you know, budgetary allocations this way? remember that sometime in July last year, the president came out openly to tell Nigerians that they have received all the monies they needed to fund the budget. Only for us to hear in November from the coordinating minister of the economy that they only received 10% of the revenue projection. Now you see such contradictions from the president and of course his coordinating minister of the economy. Now the question is, who do you want to believe? Is it the man who is in charge of the entire economy or the president who was elected in the first instance? You would like to believe the president, and at the same time you also like to believe the supposed technocrat who is managing the economy. But it speaks to the lack of coordination, the lack of clear leadership style that we're having here. We are being run like, Nigeria is being currently run like is a kingdom where you have a king and whatever the king says holds sway. So the voice of the experts are not listened to. How much more our representatives, our supposed representatives at the National Assembly, they have failed woefully, and it shows clearly that Nigerians, have to do their job when it comes to 2027. We must put in office men and women who have clear understanding of what legislative and parliamentary business is about. Men and women who will be able to look the president, whoever the president is, in the eye and say, this will not hold sway. You have a mandate from Nigerians, and you must work for Nigerian people. And as senators and as House of Reps members, we are going to hold you to account to ensure that what we appropriate is what you release. You can't go borrowing and borrow so much money, and at the end of the day, the money is not released. And when we finish budgeting, the money is not released. Nigerians have expectations, and at the end of the day, expectation is that. This explains why we are running 3 budgets in 2026. 2024, 2025, and 2026 Appropriation Act. Running pari passu. I mean, I've never heard of that ever in my entire life. I do not even understand how that is even going to pan out eventually. So I'm expecting more from the Senate here and the National Assembly Budget Defense. I'm expecting to hear more, and I'm expecting people to be told to resign for lack of performance, honestly. But unfortunately, is party government. I mean, the ruling party is, they have everything. They have the numbers to do whatever they choose to do. But unfortunately, the ordinary Nigerian, it appears, does not have a pride of place in this government.
Quite frankly, it is sad because, like I did say earlier, and like you've alluded to, it's the ordinary Nigerians that pay the price. Every day people are complaining about power, the weather is hot, the cost of solar is ridiculous. Parts of the Federal Capital Territory is part of the FCT is dark. Meanwhile, Aso Rock is moving into...
they're going off grid.
Where they're completely going off the grid. So it's just really a shame to see where we are and where we are, and the gap between where we're meant to be. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. All right?
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. Let's now go on the break and bring you breakfast headlines, after which we'll be reviewing the papers together. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Borowa. We begin the news with judicial matters, where the Department of State Services has filed a 3-count charge against Malam Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State, for allegedly intercepting the telephone conversation of Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor. A charge was filed by the DSS Council on Monday at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The Secret Police said the alleged offence contravened the Cybercrimes Prohibition Prevention Act Amendment Act 2024 and the Nigerian Communications Act 2003. Last Thursday, there was mild drama at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja when security operators attempted to arrest El-Rufai as he returned to the country from Cairo, the capital of Egypt. The ex-minister said the DSS operatives who met him at the Abuja airport did not present any letter of invitation. Now let's turn our attention to electoral matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed its readiness for the February 21st FCT Area Council election. This was as the Commission held a high-stakes meeting with stakeholders at the FCT INEC office in Abuja. Chairman of INEC, Professor Joash Abubita, While meeting with transport unions, including the National Union of Road Transport Workers and the National Association of Road Transport Owners, stressed the need for timely delivery of sensitive materials to all 2,822 polling units across the capital.
You know that your election can only be good as the logistics is. So that is why partnering with you shows that you are a stakeholder in the electoral process. However, we have noticed some challenges in relation to transport logistics, and we are very concerned and worried. If I will give you some of the examples, most especially at the last Anambra State election, it was almost a disaster because we were almost disappointed. The vehicles that were brought by the unions to transport sensitive materials from Enugu to Oka, we were not particularly happy.
Success usually depends on the level of open discussion we have with the states involved. And so far, going over the period of some months, we've been discussing with the FCC Council, and we've discussed all of these gray areas and profiled in solutions.
And now to legislative matters. The National Assembly has approved a total of 1.54 trillion naira as budget allocation for the Nigerian Army for the 2026 fiscal year, signaling renewed legislative backing for ongoing security operations. The approval follows a joint budget defense session between lawmakers and the Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, where the proposal was received and defended, Chief of Defense Staff, I beg your pardon, before committees of both chambers. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Army, Abdulaziz Yaradua, said lawmakers were satisfied with the presentation and emphasized the importance of ensuring that appropriated funds are released without delay to support troops in the field. Similarly, the House Committee on Army, led by Aminu Balele, commended the military's efforts in combating insurgency and maintaining territorial integrity, pledging continued legislative support to strengthen operational capacity.
This budget 2026, as far as we are concerned, does not reflect the state of emergency we are talking about. So the thinking of the Senate and the House of Reps is that there should be a supplementary to reflect the state of emergency that has been declared by Mr. President.
This joint committee, we resolve we are going to invite the Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget, particularly on the question or issue of budget releases. There is no doubt about it. No matter one sentiment, one cannot run away from the facts.
The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development is seeking a total of 134.2 billion naira as a proposed budget for the 2026 fiscal year, with a strong appeal for improved capital funding to support programs targeted at women and vulnerable populations. Minister Iman Suleiman Ibrahim made the request during the ministry's budget defense before lawmakers, the National Assembly, stressing that inadequate releases have continued to stall critical interventions. The ministry revealed that out of nearly 89.9 billion naira appropriated for capital projects in 2025, less than 1% was released, and the late disbursement made implementation of most projects impractical.
810,959,737 naira was appropriated for our overhead, but only the sum of 471,548,342 naira 50 kobo was released, representing 16.78%. Only 394,854,179 naira 40 kobo, representing 0.4%, was released in December and remained unutilized due to late disbursement and no cash backing.
Is release of funds. That's where the problem lies. We can allocate and appropriate anything you want, but are you going to get the funds? That's what we are trying to work on in the Senate, because that is a major problem. But you know how I feel about women, children, and social development, so we can look at it again.
Our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured the people of Kano State of his continued support and delivery of the dividends of democracy to citizens. This was as the president, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, alongside all the bigwigs of the All Progressive Congress, visited Kano State to officially welcome Governor Abba Yusuf into the APC. According to the Vice President, Governor Yusuf will take over the leadership of the party in the state and has been welcomed with open arms.
We are proud to welcome you aboard the All Progressive Congress train. We welcome you with open hands and open hearts. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has made it abundantly clear that your place in this party is second to none, and that your presence strengthens our collective resolve to build a more inclusive and prosperous Nigeria.
APC will give you a progressive mind, and you do know. You are welcome home. You are welcome back to the party that you rightly belong. And all other political parties who are decamping today from all other political parties to APC.
That Kano is too large, too strategic, and too important to be politically disconnected from the center of national governance. Our population, strong coordination with the federal government under the leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR.
And that's all on the news at this hour. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Benga Aburoa.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Time for the front pages of the newspapers that we have. Joining us, publisher, the Niche newspaper. Yes, he's here with us live. Mr. Kichukwu, thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Amici.
Good morning.
Great to have you.
Bienvenue.
Joe, always my pleasure.
Bon arrivé.
Olive.
Good to have
I know why you guys are laughing. You know, I wish some of viewers could see what happens behind the scene.
I couldn't tell the viewers.
You know,
Why are we
and
laughing?
if they know what happens behind the scene, their impression of a lot of us will change.
E.g.
It will change for the good.
How?
For the good. For the better
For
good.
better.
Yeah, for the
Because
better.
you are not who you present yourself to be. You are actually better.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now you know what we're saying. That's right. Let's go to this Nigeria. That's where we're starting from. That's the very first paper. You can call in and let us know what you think about the stories, if you have to react to either or any one of them. 2027 National Assembly considers new January date for election. No more February 13. What are we saying? Joint Electoral Act harmonization collapses. Members absent at crucial meeting. So take note. Let's see what will happen today. FCT releases list of approved R of O for regularized area councils land allocations. Double trouble for El-Rufai. EFCC grills him. DSS files charges over alleged phone tapping. Pro-anti former governor protesters clash at anti-graft agency. Let's focus on that story. That's where we're starting from. Mr. Amici, thank you so much for being here once again. Let's talk about El-Rufai and the wire tapping conversation, phone tapping.
Well, we all knew if we get to this stage, because when El-Rufai made that, will I call it unforced error, because it amounted to self-confession, even when the anchor of the program asked him.
You know the implication.
He said yes, that he knows it may be technically wrong, but then that the federal government, his justification was that the federal government, that they tap into everybody's conversation. And
hey!
So it should
all
be
the
a free
things that
for all.
Benga and I have said, federal government has said it.
And therefore that it wouldn't amount
You are
to
not
anything.
a politically exposed person.
Now, the EFCC has put him in based on allegation of 36 billion naira fraud while he was governor of Kaduna State for 8 years, alleged fraud. And EFCC, DSS has also gone to court to say they have charged him to court. 3 count charge, bordering on Cyber Security Act, amended of, I think, 2024, and then the Nigerian Communications Commission Act. So he was detained by EFCC yesterday. We don't know how long that is going to last. And of course, you can be sure that immediately he steps out of there, the DSS will take him. I think what the Nigerian state is trying to prove is that nobody is above the law and that you cannot overwhelm the state.
Isn't that a good thing?
Isn't that
a good thing?
It's a good thing, but why haven't they used this power for bandits and terrorists and kidnappers that are ravaging the country?
It is good that no individual overwhelms the Nigerian state, as it were. But you know, the funny thing, like Dele Falotimi will say, do not die in their war. I think while we are clapping out there, unfortunately, Nasir El-Rufai is a very polarizing figure. There are people who hate him to bits, to hell. There are people who love him to bits. And it all depends on where you stand. Even where he comes from, Kaduna State, there are people who would want him to be in jail and the key thrown into the lagoon for all they care. But there are people who also would actually die for him. So he's such a polarizing figure.
And that brings me to this question. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Amechi. From what you said, the Dele Farotimi quote, do not die in their war. We had Mr. Catch on an Onoju this morning, and he said it's a family affair, that is their business, that is the political class, that they are doing their thing. They know where the corpses are buried.
They used to dance
do
before
ordinary Nigerians have a dog in this fight? And I mean, even though the implications are serious, national security and accountability bordering on billions of naira.
Ordinary Nigerians should have a dog in the fight. When I quoted Farotimi about not dying in their war, I know what I'm talking about. El-Rufai and Nuhu Ribadu, they have come a long way. In fact, they were the big boys in the Obasanjo government who controlled everything. If you know the extent those two guys went, almost all the things that went wrong in the Obasanjo regime, the anti-corruption fight, even
and
the way
real public enterprise,
even the way the 2007 elections were conducted, El-Rufai and Nuhu Ribadu, we are in the mix of all those drama that led us to where we are today. Because it was the inability of President Olusegun Obasanjo to get right the transition in 2007 that we are still suffering up to now. If Obasanjo had allowed free and fair election in 2007, there wouldn't have been a Yar'Adua, and there wouldn't have been a Jonathan. And if there was no Yar'Adua and no Jonathan, there wouldn't have been a Buhari in 2015. And if there was no Muhammadu Buhari, I can bet you there wouldn't have been a Tinubu today. So all we are suffering today were problems caused by Obasanjo's inability to give us a credible transition in 2007. And Nuhu Ribadu and El-Rufai, we are in the thick of the drama. Now, even when they went on exile, when Jonathan became president, they were all fighting him. And they were in the same camp, including the man who is president today. They were all together when they formed APC. Then APC won in 2015. El-Rufai was brought in. Nuhu Ribadu was left out, including Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is our president today. So they were more or less the outsiders. Yes, Tinubu was carrying the tag of the national leader of APC, but those who know will tell you that the recommendations he made, ministerial recommendations and other things he made in 2015, none of them stayed true. Now, Tinubu is here. He has brought his political ally, Nuhu Ribadu, into government. And El-Rufai is an outsider.
Even after helping him answer questions at Chatham House.
Exactly. Part of the grievance of El-Rufai is that it was Nuhu Ribadu who specifically stopped him from being a minister.
But could he be right?
I don't know. I don't know. But that is part of what his
sour grapes, yeah.
And you know, but in doing so, you don't wear your anger on your sleeves, because it's going to, you are bound to make mistakes if you are fighting such a huge political battle in anger.
Like the statements made during the interview, yeah.
I think that El-Rufai, give it to him, is one of the most intelligent people that have been in government in recent times. He is intelligent. He's a smart person, very smart person. I am sure that a sober El-Rufai wouldn't have come on air to say what he said if he was not very angry.
Is it anger or passion?
Anger. But the next thing also is that because they all did this against Jonathan, and there were no repercussions. There is nothing El-Rufai is doing today against Tinubu that all of them did not conspire to do against Jonathan. And there were no consequences. But Tinubu is not Jonathan. And Tinubu, knowing what he knows, because all of them were in this game together, is not going to allow...
And knowing the person and character of Nasir El-Rufai.
Of Nasir El-Rufai is not going to allow him to get away with it. Now, all I have said, they don't detract from the fact of whether what he said was right or wrong. It is left for the court to decide, since the thing is already in court.
No, so I think what is in court is the fact that he tapped the phone. I don't know if the validity of his claims is what is in court. It's not about him claiming that there was...
No, it is the phone tapping.
Yeah.
That is what was filed yesterday by DSS. In any case, there are some school of thought in that is saying that the DSS is not a legal entity.
Absolutely.
That what is in the constitution is SSS and not DSS. And in any case, that the DSS has no prosecutorial powers. All that should have been done would have been for the Attorney General of the Federation to do this. So there are issues, but that is left for the courts to decide at the end of the day. Yes, you are correct, Olive. What is in question now is whether he has the right, whether he actually committed a crime.
There's also the EFCC part, the 432 billion naira probe.
I know. So whether he committed a crime by tapping the phone of the National Security Advisor, and the reason, the result of that tapping was the allegation he made of importation of chemicals. So I feel like that is also another issue that has been.
He did not also, let's also be clear, he did not say he tapped.
Well, fair.
He said
someone tapped.
Someone else did, and he was privy to the
unspecified individual.
Yes, that was privy to the information that was gleaned from the telephone conversation that the National Security Advisor had with whoever. So, like I said, it is left for the Nigerian courts to decide one way or the other.
But Mr. Mechi, hold your thoughts for a second. We have to go for an ad break. So many things to uncover. Arrest made after 2 die on Lagos film set. I wonder if they were acting action film. A very tragic story. And also Akwa Ibom and Cross River State are fighting over oil well. I wonder if Joe will be around tomorrow or will join them in the fight for oil and resources. But we'll bring you at this and more when we return from this quick break. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues. Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and it's still we're still looking at the front pages of the newspaper, and we have a publisher of the newspaper with us, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi. Quickly, your final thoughts on this El-Rufai, NSA, DSS, 423 billion probe and wiretapping, phone tapping, I beg your pardon, controversy. How do you see this playing out?
So, let's see, El-Rufai, for all I know, will have his day in court. He's a fighter. I'm sure he's going to fight this. It is left for the courts now to decide. On the issue of the corruption charges against him, of course, he has not denied it. He said that they think he is as corrupt as they are. but of course, we all know.
But does the timing make it political?
It makes it everything. It makes it everything. I agree. You know, the question you have to ask yourself, if El-Rufai had not fallen out of favor,
would he do all of this?
Will anybody take him to EFCC?
That's the deodorization and insecticization theory.
So, there are people in Bola Tinubu's cabinet who are still there till this minute, who have been accused of worse financial crimes when they were governors than El-Rufai has been accused. But those people are still there. And that's the problem with fighting corruption on a political plane. If you are with us, you are not corrupt. If you are not with us, then you are corrupt. And that is why Nigeria, despite all the noise we are making all over the place, we are not winning the war.
Well, supporters of this administration will say, you know, Chris Ngige is a member of the APC and has been prosecuted by the EFCC. So it means they are holistic in their fight against corruption.
Well, yes, Chris Ngige is a member of APC. It all depends on the APC camp, because even within APC there are camps.
And his position, maybe he's not a top striker, or they don't see him as a valuable member, I don't know.
So, all I'm saying is that we are not winning the war against corruption because of the way the war is being waged. Going by what Adams Shomole, when he was APC national chairman, said that if you come to us, then your sins are forgiven. That is still, there was a former governor who was accused, and Olive is smiling, who was accused of stealing almost $1 trillion. He joined the APC.
Everything.
Where is that case today? Is anybody still not trying him?
Yeah. So is he back from his pilgrimage?
That's a fresh.
I
that's
hope he prayed for Nigeria during that pilgrimage.
Let's look at The Guardian quickly. The Guardian newspaper has a lot, and there's this story that's trending on The Guardian that's got a lot of people talking. Relief for Nigerians as food inflation eases to single digits after 10 years.
Wonderful. Is yam now cheaper? I'll still go to my customer. I'll still buy yam for 8K.
Actually, you are.
I don't know what do you make out of this one. Then FCT polls, ADC berates Wiki over war threat. I don't know if you heard of FCT minister's threat he made. Said anybody who tries it, nobody should come and press their thumb on ADC.
You know, he sounded like it was a foregone conclusion.
Said, listen, anybody who does that gets his support. And then you had another member of the APC who said only those who are APC will get jobs, will get things, will get that, will get the support of the government.
Even at the risk of sounding like a broken gramophone this thing, I would say that this is not a democracy.
So what is it?
It is
demonstration of
craziness.
As a
pseudo-democracy.
As the late Nafela would say, if you read my piece last week on Thursday that I titled Democracy as a War.
Yeah.
These guys don't believe in what they are preaching. We have pseudo-democrats, those who are maximizing the trappings of democracy to perpetuate themselves in office. Because democracy is about freedom. It's about choice. It's about fairness. It's about credibility. Without free, fair, credible polls, then you can't say people perpetuating themselves. How can a minister threaten? Nigerians are jumping up and down, talking about this thing. I'm afraid what is going to happen in 2027, whether there will actually be elections in 2027. Because what I foresee in 2027 will be a consolidation of what happened in 2023, where if you don't look like them, then you won't even be allowed to come out of your house, not to talk of going to the polling booth to vote. I see a situation where if they know you as somebody who has advocated for this political party instead of that political party, you won't even be allowed to vote.
So what can be done to forestall this doomsday scenario you're painting? for Nigerians because it's scary. And I mean, the signs are there. In Kaduna last week, members of the ADC that were gathered to have a meeting, they were chased away. So these signs are there. You're speaking from an informed point of view.
In Lagos,
yes,
APC can't hold meetings.
ADC.
ADC can't hold meetings. And that's all over the place. APC is there prancing about registering 40 million members. Yet they are doing everything to stop other political parties from
just meeting.
From meeting. And what Wike said was not Wike inadvertently is letting the cat out of the bag. This is what they are planning for 2027. So even this issue of real-time transmission of results, at the end of the day, you find out that you may not even get to that point because you won't even be allowed to come out to vote. If Wike could say that it will a declaration of war, more or less, if you are not going to vote for ADC, better don't come out. Then you ask yourself, what kind of democracy is that? It's a problem. Benga, you ask me what could be done. I don't want to preach anarchy. I'm on national television. All of us are asking for peace. All of us are asking for, but can there be peace? Peace is not a one-sided thing.
No, it's not.
People must come to the table to say, we want to save Nigeria. Those who are saying that it's either us or nothing are not doing this country any good.
Peace accord they always sign just before
elections.
Peace at the end of just before elections, the leading candidates.
We've never seen political parties and even the last one. There was and not everybody showed up to sign the peace accord. But let's take comments from YouTube. Olumide Alade says, "We cannot die in their war. What matters is that Naira is gaining strength. Yet building material prices keep increasing. What is the government's explanation for this contradiction? Diaspora citizens are concerned about how these rising costs are affecting our investments and families at home. We need clear answers and practical solutions." Paras Amakos, thank you for your comment. He says, if El-Rufai decides to recant on that same station or clarify his position, will there still be a case on him? Meanwhile, I'm sipping my hot coffee and seeing how everything plays out. Do you have an answer to that if he decides to go back and recant on, on the same station?
Well, he won't. So
that's hypothetical.
So let's not,
based on his character.
El-Rufai won't. What is he going to say that he didn't get?
He was misunderstood or miscommunicated.
So he won't do that. But let's see how it pans out. Like I said earlier, it is now in the court. Let's see what the judges are going to say. All I know for sure is that the fight between him and Nuhu Rebadu, he's a very good friend.
Close friends.
It has got to a point where I think what is there now is ego, and they will fight to finish. So let's see who will win and who will lose in this fight. But the most important thing is that we must continue to pay attention to what Wike
is doing.
What Wike is saying, which is the brand of politics that APC, I'm sorry to say, when people mention APC, those who support APC say, you are partisan, you are this, you are that. I'm not a member of any political party. And if it was the PDP that was doing this in the 8 years of Obasanjo presidency, when he was doing his own. All of us came out to condemn President Olusegun Obasanjo. When he sees the funds that belong to local governments in Lagos State, Nigerians condemned it. But today, do you know what?
Ondo State.
Ondo State. This same president who was governor, who went all the way to the Supreme Court to challenge what the government of Obasanjo did, and who, when Musa Yar'Adua came to office, released those funds. He is doing the same thing to Adeleke because they don't belong to the same political party. So why do we continue going around in circles instead of building a country that all of us will be proud of? Why do we delight in running a government that prides itself in propaganda? Yes, Naira value is
1,400 and 100.
Doing this thing, they say the food inflation has come to single digit. But go to the market.
It's not the same.
Go to the market. People are still crying. Go to the hospitals. Drugs are still as costly as they ought to be, as they are, not as they ought to be. Go to schools. Schools are still charging astronomical fees. So, and you know, President Bola Tinubu told us in September that his government met revenue target, the 2025 revenue target, in August.
Until Wale Edu came and told us something different.
Wale Edu came and said, no,
there's a shortfall.
Wait a minute, out of about 40 trillion, we've only gotten about 10. The MDAs are coming up now. Some are saying that what was released for capital...
34 million. Health.
Listen, 34 million.
Electricity, 60 million.
Where is all the money? You've removed petroleum subsidy, you're making more money, yet you are borrowing. And Nigeria is still broke.
No budget performance analysis.
So I don't know, but I've said it here before, assuming that it was any other person
in power
other than Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they would have run him out of town. But it is the same people who know how to run people out of town that
are now running the country
in government, and they know how to hold everybody down. But it may not last forever. My only prayer is that they should not set this country on fire. Yeah. Honestly, my only prayer is that they should not set this country on fire. Let us have a free and fair election in 2027. If Nigerians, in their magnanimity, think that, well, all is good, then let them return him to office. That is the beauty of democracy. Democracy does not guarantee that the best must
stay there for long.
Majority will have its way.
Or must win. But the window it affords the people, which is what makes it superior to other forms of government, is that periodically the people have the right to decide.
They have the power.
The power to decide who superintends over the affairs of the state. So if after 4 years, like it is the case in Nigeria, you've not done well, the people can say,
Oga, go and rest.
Thanks, but no thanks.
People can't say, but if the people say, and will it be will their saying be reflected?
Exactly, because you know we continue talking about coups, and people think that coup is only when soldiers take guns. Those who rig elections
are democratic coups,
are felons, just like people who use force of arms to change government.
Coupists.
So they are all coupists. Anybody who manipulates, who rigs elections to either come into office or to stay back in office, for me, has plotted a coup against the democratic wish or wishes of the people. And Nigerians, this is why the 2027 elections must be consequential. Coming back to your question, Boinga, what do we do? What do we do is that Nigerians must decide that enough is enough. How will that end with the people who are determined to do what they want to do? I don't know.
Well,
all right.
Nigerians must decide enough is enough. Well, it is enough for us here on Breakfast Central because our time is up and we have to head out of the studio with Nasir coming back. And thank you, Mr. Amechi, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Our virtual audience and our commenters.
I also like to commend INEC for moving that election date in 2027 from February 13th, eve of Valentine's Day. You know what happens on Valentine's Day? You just receive flowers on the show just now. A lot of people will be disenfranchised because they would have done overnight away from their polling units. So kudos to Professor Joash Amopito.
Thank you for watching.
Fantastic decision.
Wow,
thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, guys.
Wow, you just put my business out there.
We'll see you tomorrow, and do take care. Jasiri is up next. Bye for now.
I look forward to eating your flower with you.